In part 3 of our continuing coverage, Councilman Chaffin discusses the mandatory trash issue, which has sparked controversy with some residents since its inception.
How do you feel about the accusation on that you supported the mandatory trash? That seems to be a big issue.
Yes. I feel it's a simple issue. It's one that all the people of Fernley need to work together to keep a clean city. And it was not happening before, because I've seen with my own eyes, and actually to some extent smelled with my own nose, some garbage that was sitting out behind some houses, or beside some houses, in my own ward, where people were letting the trash stack up and build up. And I've even seen it blowing along the street when I was out campaigning, and trash, food trash wrappers were blowing down the street. And that tells me that people were not following the rule that the state puts onto all of us. In any populated area in the state of Nevada, it is a requirement by safety sanitation regulations that the garbage has to be removed weekly, and there were people not doing that. It seemed to me like it was sensible to have one company, not a variety of companies running around the streets, so that we minimized as much as possible the number of big trucks lumbering down our residential streets, and trash barrels only being out one day a week, rather than if you had multiple companies, there'd be trash barrels out almost every day of the week. That's not safe for the children in the community or for anybody else, and that's not the way a good trash collection system is operated in any city. So I felt that it makes sense to have one company do it, and the way that we determined what was the fair price was to put it out to competitive bid. We had 3 different companies come in with their proposals, and between those 3 people, and it was open to anybody that had the desire to haul trash in the state of Nevada and could be licensed. And of those 3 companies, we took the one that had the lowest price. We found that if we had everyone share together in the responsibility for removing that trash, it would be about $3 a month less on the bill. So we feel like we're saving thousands of dollars to the residents of Fernley over a period of a year by having everyone share in that responsibility. Seems to me like it was totally a reasonable decision, one that really surprised me when a small negative group of people seemed to be arguing in a direction of what seemed to me like poor sanitation. They wouldn't admit that, but if they didn't want the trash hauled away and wanted to do something different, it seemed to me like there's a danger that would end up allowing trash to be built up. Well, since we made that decision, we have made some concessions on a number of points for elderly people, for people who are unhealthy, for vacant properties. There's been changes made. And we've even allowed people now, if they do want to haul their own trash, if they will attest to the fact with a signature that they do that weekly, that is legitimate and allowed. So we feel like we have bent over backwards to try to accommodate some of the concerns that were brought to us on the council. But I still feel that the decision to have trash being hauled for everyone in the city, every household in the city, is a good decision, and I have no apology for making that decision. And as I say, I've been very disturbed that some people seem to want to argue in the other direction on that, and it amazes me that they... Well, if they want to drive a car, their life has been run over by the fact that they have to buy a license for the car and pay tax for that license plate.
And insurance, mandatory.
And insurance is a mandatory thing. I mean, just about anywhere you look, there are mandatory requirements that we all have to share together as citizens. And it seems to me to have the trash removed at a reasonable price by one company to minimize the number of trucks on the streets is a very reasonable thing to do. And I might mention also that I have talked to representatives of other cities in Nevada at the Nevada League of Cities meetings just recently, and I would conclude that most all the cities in northern Nevada and probably throughout the state, if they're a populated area, have some form of trash collection where everybody shares in it. So I don't think Fernley is unique. One thing on the issue too I'd like to mention is there's been a pointing to Fallon that their costs are less than ours. But people need to realize that Fallon has their own city dump, and it's not necessary to load the trash into a transfer station over there as it is here. And we then have to load trucks to carry it on to our away from our transfer station to our landfill, which happens to be Lockwood. Fallon doesn't have that requirement, so naturally it's a little bit simpler for them. I guess once again I would say that the American way of having different companies bid on a project is probably the safest way to assure that you're getting the best deal, because these companies are in competition with each other. And every indication I could see was that there was absolutely no price fixing at all, because their amounts varied quite a bit in what they came up with for their proposal for charges.